Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen, and I'm joined by my podcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw. Played for many years for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings, and this is the Laidlaw and Allen Report. Come to you twice a week to talk all things hockey. And, of course, what we're talking about now is the playoffs and a big performance, Tom, by Thatcher Demko.
Love that name. Thatcher.
Yeah, it's a great name. Steps in, really steals a game for the Vancouver Canucks, and keeps them alive in the series. And I will say this: I was against them going to Thatcher Demko. I thought it was a bad message to send to everyone, but look what happens. He steps in, makes 41 saves, and they wouldn't be alive in the postseason without his performance.
Now, I must be honest, I didn't watch all that game, but from all reports are saying that although it was 41 saves, and obviously that's a big game for the rookie to step in there like that, but all reports are that Vegas really didn't play that same kind of heavy game they were playing before. They weren't driving to the net as much, not as much physical play. Still, it's 41 shots to 17, so it looks like they outplayed them, but that's great. I think Thatcher Demko was a San Diego kid too, born and raised in San Diego, so that was a big day. Yeah. And though, how about this year for like goaltending moves, right? That some have paid off. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's more this year going with goaltenders like surprise moves. Like we didn't think that they were going to go with that. Like I just it seems like this year more than ever. I guess that's the uniqueness of what we're going through. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't see like we've seen coaches now sort of respect what has become the typical approach for back-to-back games, where in the old, usually in a playoffs, you would just ignore that and just say, my guy's my guy, I'm going to play him.
I wonder what Mark Tambardura is thinking right now. He played all the time. Like he had his way, he would have played every game.
Right? Yeah, no, I mean, and I didn't like the move because, this Vancouver team, you and I both have talked about how impressed we are by it. And part of that group is Markstrom as their goalie. Yep. And he's unsigned. They want to get him signed. And so you go to him and say, you look a little fatigued. We're going to go with the young guy. And now where are you at? So don't you have to go back with Thatcher Demko now?
In this case, I wouldn't. I mean, Markstrom's played so well that if it's just a rest, they're saying, okay, listen, he's getting the one game and that's it. Because I think you're saying to the rest of the team too, like maybe I overthink it sometimes with the rest of the team. Maybe they're not thinking about it as much, but I'm thinking it was like with Carter Hart getting pulled not playing the other night there, and they went with.
I didn't like that either.
Yeah, exactly. But they still go back with Carter Hart, right? And he wins last night. Yeah. So I just think with Markstrom, he's played so well. You've got to go. You're saying, okay, well, give me your rest. That's all this is a rest. This kid's he's not getting in next game. It's a rest for you, and then go back in. So,
I mean, Tom, you're a former NHL player. Is it that big a deal?
No, I think what's happened over time here is that the numbers will bear out that yes, you do not play as well in the second night, but I think it's something that's been built up in everybody's head now. In management and players, the media, everybody just assumes that this rest is going to affect you in the second night of a back-to-back game. So it does. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You keep telling everybody that that's what's happening, and it happens. When you're playing the same team on back-to-back nights, especially, both teams are the same, and especially now there's no travel whatsoever. So I just don't. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I remember playing and okay, maybe I'm a little bit more tired, but I know I'm getting a little bit dramatic here, but I think of military people, right? They're going off to war and they're carrying, they're fighting battles all day long. They don't take a day off. It's every day for them.
Well, with any profession, just think about the ludicrousy. Okay, so you're a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
And then you say, we need you to come in. You did brain surgery yesterday, but, we need you here. Right. And you'll say, well, I can't do back-to-backs,
Right. How about the plumber or the architect?
And just any profession, a police officer, fireman, and, as you said, military. So, and the physical exertion, like I've been around sports for so long, I get it. I know that you're a little weary after because, it's intense, now, and it's not like shifts now, you go all out for 30, 35 seconds.
Right.
I get that, but still, like the average amount of time you're out there if you're a forward is what, 16 minutes, 16 and a half.
Look at Columbus and Tampa in their playoff series. They played 2 games in one night, over 2 games. And
and they didn't say in the second half, well, the boys aren't going to be as good,
because I don't recall ever that being like, we never looked at our schedule at the start of the year and said, oh, here's a back-to-back, we're going to be, we have to play somebody or whatever, have to play it differently. It's something I think that's built up over time. Like we joke around with the goaltenders. Goaltenders used to play every game all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I get that it's a little bit different for goaltenders because they're lugging around all that equipment and they're playing all 60 minutes.
Right.
And it's the mental strain as well for them.
Yeah.
But the one thing, though, just getting back to last night's game, the 2 wins now that Vancouver has in this, don't jump on me if you're a Canucks fan, because I'm loving your boys. I love your team, but they needed Herculean efforts in order to win that. That first game they won. They blocked 40 shots, and their goalie was good. They did not play Vegas, and the same thing happened last night. Right. Vegas owned the puck. It was coming at Thatcher Demko all the time. Thatcher Demko was just terrific, and they won that. So if both teams, Vegas is a much better team right now.
Absolutely.
Than Vancouver.
And a much better playoff team too. Like we talked before, like you look at Tampa. I think they've really come a long way now. Are a playoff hockey team now, and they're proving it. And I think Vegas has been there already. Listen, I mean, they're not going to say it, but this is bonus hockey for Vancouver, right? I mean, you've talked about this before. I don't think any of us really thought they were going to go this far. But I mean, it's a fantastic form. It's showing the talent they have. They clearly. I mean, listen, who knows? Maybe Vancouver can pull off a miracle and win this series, but it's still Vegas' series to win.
Yeah, no, it is. They're the better team, and a year from now it'll be a different story.
Yeah,
a year from now with another full year for Quinn Hughes and Pettersson and Bo Horvat, like that. I just love saying the names on that team because they're all fun players.
Yes,
not only are they quality players and skilled players, but they're entertaining players. I'm watching last night, and it's I'm trying to think who it was that was driving to the net. Oh, it was Riley Smith. Riley's driving one-on-one against Quinn Hughes, and both those guys can skate like crazy. And it was just a fun battle, to watch them. Riley trying to drive to the net, and Quinn trying to angle him off, and it was.
How about Travis Green as coach too? Like I like he got interviewed there. Sure. During the day yesterday, he was interviewed, and they said, "What are you going to say to the team?" And he's like, "I'm not saying anything. My boys have been ready." He's like a lot like Gerard Gallant. Like he took that approach too. That it wasn't about him as coach. Coaching, saying some miracle speech or whatever to get the guys ready. He was more turning to them. He says, "No, it's them. They'll be ready to play." I love. He's doing a great job coaching too. So.
Yeah, and I think the real quality coaches sort of understand that. I think you have to have a big ego to be a quality coach. I do. Yep. But I also think they understand that, it reminds me of the old funny moment I had with Jim Rutherford, and I was asking him about a coach that was, out of work. And I said, what do you think of Jim? Jim, what do you think of this guy as a coach? And he said, who's his goalie going to be? And the point was just so well made. He could be a great coach, but if he doesn't have a great goalie or the team's not good enough, what's the matter? So.
I agree. And you're talking about having a big ego as a coach. I think, and you're right. I hear you. I'm just saying maybe a different way. I think you have to have a ton of confidence in yourself, right? Because you're willing to say say publicly that my coaching isn't as important as the players like that. And that's good coaching, right? Because you're confident enough to know that you're doing your job. So now you're going to give the attention to the players instead of trying to take it yourself. I mean, that's where some of the coaches I think have gotten themselves in trouble in the past. You look at Mike Babcock; that's probably one of his biggest issues, right? He wanted to be about him all the time and not about the players. So.
Yeah, although I have a story for you that sort of contradicts that a little bit because he is a guy that draws the spotlight toward him, and you see it all the time, but. When the Red Wings won, and the way it works now, the media goes on the ice, And I went up to talk to Mike Babcock about the Red Wings when they won in 2008, and he was standing there. He was with his family, and he wasn't intermingling with all the players. He was standing back and watching them all celebrate. And I talked to him a little bit, and I said, "Well, why aren't you out there?" And he goes, "This is the players' time." He said, "That's just the way I see it." He said, "We all work together to get here, but they won it. Now this is their time." And he said, "I'm just enjoying sitting back watching them, enjoy it." So he said, I prefer to do it this way. And you know what? He sounded very sincere about that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was an act. And, I'm not saying that he doesn't have a big ego and think that he's a big part of it, because I'm sure he does. That's part of his success.
Well, we'll give him one day. We'll give him one day where he act properly. But
yeah, well, yeah, no, that's right. But I think they do sort of all understand that. So, but let's look at the list of coaches.
You know what? I have a concern here too. I think that you've gotten to many people here and you brainwashed them against me and my concepts. So number 27, Ryan McDonough. So he came back and played, and they knocked out.
We'll get to the Lightning here. I want to just finish up this one.
I'm more concerned about what you've done to the people that used to believe in my theories.
Yeah, well, believe me, I'm pretty sure she still believes in you. It's just your theory that's a little off.
So it is, okay.
I believe in you. I just don't buy your theory.
Okay.
And I'm sure that's how she is.
We're not throwing it away.
And we will come back to that. Just give me a minute, because I wanted to bring up a point, because I wanted to get your thoughts. Let's look at the coaches that are still left. I mean, you talked about Travis out in Vancouver, but we have all the coaches that are left. I was thinking about this, are all guys that have pedigrees. John Cooper isn't one, but he's well respected around the league.
Yep.
Barry Trotz is the only guy that has one. And Lane Vigneault has been around the block.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, there is, and then you look out west, DeBoer, real well respected as well. Rick Bowness, we've talked about him, about how everyone just believes, he's a quality guy. So we have good coaches left.
Yep. Bednar, the only guy really, and I like him as a coach, Bednar in Colorado there, but maybe it doesn't have that big pedigree. Yep.
No, that's right. Yeah, he is. We're still waiting to see what what he can do as a coach. Yep. But anyway, all right. Let's get to the Lightning, and Ryan McDonough. I know what she's saying. You've kind of besmirched him a little bit.
Well, it's also my theory that if you if you lose a star player, the rest of the team's going to pick it up and play better. And you got taken that and you run with it and kind of
yeah.
It's really
for sure. But let's talk a little bit about the Lightning. I think we finally are seeing a Lightning team that is capable of winning it all.
Yes.
And what a difference. We talked on a different podcast, Eric Erlandson, who covers that team, and he just talked about the difference in the mental attitude of the team. And, that was brought about by several different factors, changing the players. And he mentioned what you've mentioned, Maroon coming in, and maybe not a guy that's going to help you in the regular season, but in the postseason, he just won this cup not all that long ago.
Totally.
And he knows a little bit about it. So,
and you just see, to me, I can see the change in attitude. It isn't like the feeling, okay, I'm going to make a big play here. I know I should make the simple play, but I'm going to make a big play. I don't see them doing that anymore. I see them doing all the little plays. I really think they learned a lot in the Columbus series. From playing against Columbus, see the way they played, how much they got out of their team. Clearly a less talented team than Tampa, but man, they played hard. And I think they did the same thing with the Boston Bruins. It's that same mentality, right? Do the little plays right all the time. And I think that's what Tampa's doing now. And consequently, they're, Hedman's winning goal there the other night, like you said, Maroon getting in front of the net, paying the price in front of the net, all those little things that they weren't necessarily always doing before. They were doing them sometimes. It seems like now they're always playing that game.
Well, and they had a team that was already pretty well structured, but they had to, fit some pieces around it to make it better. And, you and I have talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Zach Bogosian, looks like he's near the end of the road when he's in Buffalo. And then we slot him in Tampa, and we say, hey, why don't you play with Victor Hedman? Yeah. So he goes from being in Buffalo, where people are saying, well, you're near the end, and now all of a sudden he's playing with one of the best defensemen in the game, and you can imagine the conversation with John Cooper and Bogosian saying, "Hey, look, you just play Bogosian style hockey, but just make sure you don't get and disrupt what we're doing. Just do what you do, and don't try to do any more than that, and we're going to get along great." And that's exactly what's happened. He's a big-bodied guy, and we've forgotten, because it's been so long since he played well, that when he came up, he was thought to have some skill, and he does. On this team, and the same thing like Kevin Shattenkirk. You're on New York. He tries to do too much. He tries to be a star defenseman, and he's not really that. He's not an A+ defenseman. He's a B+, defenseman. And but on Tampa, he looks pretty good. He fits in well on that transition offense.
And what I like about Bogosian too, like playing with Hedman, and I mean this is a compliment to Hedman. He's such a talented guy, and he's so big, and he's such a good skater and everything. Like he'll wander all over the place, right? Because he can make plays. So he comes on Bogosian's side. And Bogosian seems like he's smart enough to say, okay, I got to let him do what he wants to do. I'll just go where he isn't, right? If I'm on my side, I'll go to his side. And that takes some experience, right? Like you got to be thinking out there. And that's, the more we talk about it, the more I think, well, that's a pretty smart move by Tampa to bring in those two guys, Shattenkirk and Bogosian, right? One of the big things that guy is that experience, that youthfulness of just being a little bit in awe of everything is gone for those guys now, right? So they can read plays better, and they've done it before. So smart move. But I got to tell you though, when I first saw those two guys out there with Tampa, I was like, oh, geez, what are they doing with those guys? I mean, they're like, it hasn't worked other places with them. But
and you know how it works. Hedman, thanks Bogosian for doing what he does, and he goes to Cooper and says, this is working out. Bogosian knows when to drop back, lets me do my thing, Stars. I mean, you've been there, I haven't, but my impression is Stars don't really run the teams the way that people think they do, but they have influence. They have significant influence. And if Hedman likes Bogosian, Cooper will like Bogosian. Because he's one of those guys that you want Hedman to be able to do what he does.
You want Hedman to be playing his best game, and if he's playing his best game with Bogosian, then Bogosian is staying with Hedman. There's no question.
And as long as Hedman is happy with how it's all working, and it is working. When you watch him, and Bogosian's size, we forget now because we start to think in terms of. We allow smaller players now that they can find their way. It's not the clutching and grabbing and everything. But a guy of Bogosian's size, it does matter. Yeah. It does matter that he has some bulk to him.
Absolutely. You look at St. Louis's defensemen last year; they had some big boys back there, right? It wasn't just good skaters or smart players, but they're big bodies back there too. The game kind of went for a while thinking, okay, you got to have just all smaller, faster guys. It would be great to have big and faster guys too to win, and that still is true. You still need speed, but man, on defense, you got big bodies. You're playing a 7-game series. You're wearing people down, and I think more than anything, those big bodies constantly pounding on the other team's forwards, and sooner or later they're saying to themselves, "Oh God, here we go again." And it makes you change your play, maybe move the puck quicker, and Bogosian certainly does that for Tampa.
Now, should we just pencil Tampa and Vegas into the Stanley Cup final?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen in the Colorado-Dallas series. I still think Colorado's got a chance of winning that, although they're banged up pretty bad. But I just, Dallas is impressing me. If they get past Colorado, I mean, they played a way that, and I didn't think they were that good. I didn't think they were that good offensively. I didn't think that they really wanted it that bad. Now they're really starting to play like it's like they really want it. So, and maybe they're on a roll here. So I think Vegas is the best team out west. I think the Tampa is the best team out east. It's just that, man, I mean, you get a team like Dallas and they're on a roll. If they get past Colorado, who knows what they can do. The Islanders, I'm sure everybody is, including me, is going to say there's just no way they can beat Tampa. But, man, the Islanders find a way to win. It's almost like the old Islanders back in the 80s when they're winning their cups. They find a way to win. So.
Well, it's terrible, but you and I completely agree on this. Like, I think we're going to end up with Vegas and Tampa, and I do believe they're the best teams in each conference. But I do not want to write off the Islanders or even Philadelphia. The Islanders more so just because of the defensive style they can play, and I think they have a shot to be able to at least diminish the effectiveness of the Tampa Bay offense. The Islanders have more scoring than you think they do. Barzal is a creative player, and Anders Lee has been a 30-goal scorer, and they have guys that can find the net. Brock Nelson.
You bring up a good point, though. Philly's not done yet. I mean, Drew scored his first goal of the playoffs last night. Drew starts to score goals. Couturier got hurt late in the game and didn't come back. I don't think it looked like it was too bad. Hopefully he comes back and he gets hot again. So you're right. I mean, and Carter Hart, they went back to him. I hope they've learned their lesson. It should be cheering for Philly, but from Philly's sense, I hope they're saying, listen, Carter Hart's our goaltender. I don't care if it's back-to-back or not. He's playing every game. I don't care if he plays bad one game. He's going back in the net. He is our goaltender. He needs to play. He gives us the best chance of winning. He's our future. He's got to play. And if they start to score goals, man, that series isn't over yet either. So.
Yeah, but I have this feeling that nobody's going to outplay Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky. I love Carter Hart as a young rising goalie, but Vasilevsky now is really starting to figure it. He was so talented right from the beginning. You were one first to point that out to me. You knew him from doing the analysis of the KHL playoffs, and he's just gotten better and better. Now he's almost become the wily pro in addition to having all that talent.
Yeah, and it's one of those things as a team and as coaches, it's almost like you pencil in every night that Vasilevsky's going to be there and play his game. It doesn't seem like he has a bad night, right? Like you're saying, he's just such a professional now. He's always prepared. It's one thing, like as a team, you say, okay, we don't have to worry about that situation.
And don't you think we don't always recognize how great he is because they don't need him to steal games?
Yeah, totally.
I think he could if you needed him to, but Tampa scores so many goals,
and he does make some big saves. I mean, they're not perfect defensively; they give up
no, not at all.
Sure, and he's one of those goalies that makes it look. What I like about him too is it's not like it's a desperation save all the time. Like he does make some heroic saves. Like he's had a few of them in past history, past years. But most of his saves is just, okay, I'll stop the puck. It doesn't matter if it's a quality shot or not. I'm just going to stop the puck and do the right thing, steer the rebound where it's supposed to go. He's got his game all together.
All right. I want to go off the playoff track a little bit, Tom, just because there are some things out there. And yesterday on another podcast, Jim Rutherford talked to Scott Burnside and Pierre. And he wouldn't rule out trading Malkin. Like he didn't say, in fact, he said, I'm not actively shopping him. That was an exact quote. And Pierre LeBrun and Scott Burnside, I think, pushed him a little bit. And he just said, but, anything is possible. Do our stars have the desire to win as much as they did before? And maybe he was trying to prod. Because Malkin had a really strong season last year. He was the team's MVP. But he wouldn't rule it out. Now, every summer we hear these rumors about trading Malkin. He has a no-trade clause.
How old is he?
34, I believe. 33 or 34. But here's the thing, Tom. We all know that they can't continue to go on forever and a day. We can't have Malkin and Crosby playing together when they're 40 because ultimately you'll end up like Chicago. You'll be bottoming out. You'll be paying guys, and you'll end up with diminishing return on your investment at some point. And well worth it in Chicago. I don't think it was a mistake to pay those guys. They won 3 cups, and you pay a price for that. But you want to try to mitigate that a little bit, and they could do that if they could move Malkin to somewhere he would be willing to go and get something in return. Younger, less expensive, etc. Should they trade Malkin?
Well, my short answer is yes, they should trade Malkin. Yeah, that team clearly, you're right. It's on the downside now, and if you wait much longer, you're not going to get anything for him. I guess my question though is, who's going to want him, and what are you going to get back for him? Like if you're just giving him away and you're not getting a whole lot back for him at his age. A team that's rebuilding, will they want a Malkin, like a young team, like a Los Angeles Kings, let's say, they're trying to rebuild? I mean, does that make sense to have a Malkin go in there, or do you go to a contending team? Does Colorado think? Does Vancouver think they need more? They got this young team, but they need more.
Imagine Nathan McKinnon and Evgeny Malkin.
Yeah. That's a team that I'm saying, okay, they think they can win the cup here in the next few years. They add that piece to the puzzle. Do they think that takes them to the top?
Well, let me throw another one in the mix because I do want to talk about them. They're going to hire a general manager. But the Florida Panthers, Malkin supposedly owns a home down near there and likes Florida, we hear. I don't know that he does, but we hear that.
They tax
all that stuff. And, they've got players there to play with. Barkov and Malkin sounds like a pretty good center ice to me. They get a new general manager in Bill Zito. People thought they were going to be better than they ended up this season. They've got a quality coach in Quenneville who knows how to win. You convince them to go down there. What do you get back? I don't know. It's Huberdeau maybe. I'm just spitballing.
If you're Pittsburgh and you trade Malkin, you're saying to yourself, okay, we're not going to win right away. We're going to retool here a little bit now, right?
Well, not necessarily. I think what they're thinking is we still have Crosby. We still have Gunsel. They got Zucker.
Letang's still there.
Yeah, Letang. So I think they think, okay, we're trying to do the trickiest thing of all. We're trying to retool on the fly.
Right.
And that's always hard.
And how old is Huberdeau? He's what? Like late 20s?
Yeah, he's much younger. I don't know if that's it. Would go there.
I see the concept. So you're going to trade away an all-star player, Hall of Famer in Malkin. You've won cups with him. So you're doing a few things. You can clear up some cap space, make the team younger, change the look of the team. But you're right. You've got Crosby there, so you can't say, okay, we're retooling and we're regrouping. You got to still say this is the top player in the game. We still need to have a winner or a potential winner.
You're not trading away. I mean, Malkin. Let's not forget this. Malkin had an exceptional year.
Yeah,
like he played really well.
Yeah,
it didn't. Nobody played well in the playoffs, but for them. But in the regular season, like he was good.
Yeah,
he was particularly good when Crosby was out, which has always been the case.
That's true. Yeah,
and maybe that's the sell. With Malkin saying, well, Evgeny, maybe it's time for you to go and run your own team. Not be in the shadow. But there are certainly other teams now. Whether Malkin would go there, like I think he'd have to be intrigued by Colorado, who, by the way, has the cap space.
Yes,
they got a lot of cap space. To go.
They can use them really is Montreal, right? I mean, Montreal, they still got Carey Price there. Their defense is pretty good. Get another scorer up front.
Yeah, and Montreal is always, I think, for European players, a lot of them sort of have. There's a mystique about the Canadians. The Europeans like.
Yeah.
You're playing for the Habs. I think they all understand all that. So who knows? Now, if the Penguins, you got to be careful though, because you got to get you got to figure out who's going to be your number 2 center.
Yeah.
Well,
and you figure like Kessel, although he's not doing great in Phoenix, I mean, he was a big part of that team when they won their cups, right? Like he played a big role. He's gone now. Now you got Malkin leaves again, so you're getting farther away from a cup.
Yeah, but they've got Kessel style of guys, and by that I mean guys that can step up. I mean, Zucker's a good. Right. Quality player.
Kessel could have won the Conn Smythe that first year.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know what you're saying, but
it's and that's not really the Kessel that Phoenix is getting now. But I mean, that role, that player is now gone.
Right.
Now, if you remove Malkin from that lineup too,
I'm really kicking this can too far down the road because they're not even likely to do this. But I suppose what you could do if you were going to trade Malkin, you could go and find a horse that you used to saddle up before named Bonino in Nashville. Yeah. I think Nashville's looking to move some parts as well. And, so now, you love Bonino. You're used to him. Sullivan likes him. He's a guy that slides between 2 and 3 in the center. And when you got Crosby, you can convince yourself that maybe. And Bonino had a good year last year. I think he had 18 or 20 goals.
I'll tell you what, it's interesting you bring up Nashville because my feeling, Nashville really needs a facelift there. I mean, it's, as much as anything, it's just changed the room it all together. It's just that mix isn't working. But they're going to be stuck though too. I mean, it's a big contract. Johansson's got a big contract. I think the upside is huge. So that's interesting with Nashville. Yeah, well, that would really change things up.
Yeah,
maybe you'd trade Malkin for Johansson. You think Johansson's that good?
Yeah, I don't know. You get a younger player, but how much are you saving on the salary there? I think Johansson's at over $8 million, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and with Malkin, his contract is running out, and Johansson,
he's got like 5 years left or something. Yeah,
he's got a long time. So I don't know about that one. You'd have to. I guess it would depend. You'd have to sit around and decide. Okay, what's our objective with trading Malkin?
Like you said, if you got Crosby there, if you add Johansson, if he can play the way he should be able to play, you're not downgrading your talent level. You're making yourself younger. Yes, you're adding to the length of the cap, longer contract, but man, you're saying to yourself, we're still a contender. I've made us younger, and I've still kept us a contender. If you believe that Johansson can play the way I think he should.
Well, let me ask you this, and because again, as a former player, you understand this. In Nashville, a lot of pressure on Johansson. He's got the big contract. He's the number one center. He goes to Pittsburgh. He's a blip. Like, people don't even know he's on the team because it's Sid's team.
Yes.
He's the number one center.
Totally.
So would he play better without that?
Yeah, I mean, geez, because when he's played his game, he's good, man. He's a number one center. Obviously, he's not going to be number one in Pittsburgh. But like you said, yeah, that frees him up right now. All the other teams, they're concentrating on Sid so much now. Johansson is freed up to do more. Yeah. Oh, I like that trade. Let's get that done.
Yeah. Well, it would be interesting because now, again, this shouldn't play a role in it, but David Poyle's trying to win a cup. He's in the twilight of his career, and there are people. I don't know that I'm among them, but there are people who say, Nashville really isn't that far off if they could just sort of get it together. Now, I'm not one of those guys,
right?
But
neither am I.
But you hear people who say that.
Yes, if you looked at their talent, yes, they not just not far off. They should be winning a cup this year with their talent that they have. But they are far off based on the character and culture they've got with that hockey team. They're not even close as far as the team goes. So
no, I get you on that. Well, this has been an interesting discussion, but as always, in the playoff time, we go overtime. We like overtime. That's our time. Our time is overtime.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you listening, and we'll be back again next week when we'll talk more trades and things. And there's always a lot going on.
And that Malkin and Johansson trade will probably be done by next Monday, so we can talk about that.
All right, sounds good.
See you guys.